My name's John Broderick. I'm a retired executive from Rockwell Automation. It's an automation company based in Milwaukee. My wife Laura is an occupational therapist. She's not here right now. But to date, we've engaged in 3 Ashcroft deals. The first one, North Arlington, has already closed. But then we also have Marabella and Brighton are the other 2 deals that we've got with Ashcroft. Well, I'm retired now, and it's nice to have a stock and bond portfolio along with a handful of other investments, but I needed to kind of convert those assets into something that was more of a cash flow. And our goal is really to try to live off the cash flow from the investments rather than, cashing out those investments. So in addition, I started looking at bigger pockets to try to educate myself. We were looking at maybe investing in some apartment complexes. And again, being retired, I just don't want to deal with, having to make the connections to find an apartment deal. I don't want to have to manage the renters. I don't want to manage contractors for work that needs to be done, both on a proactive basis and an emergency basis. Therefore, I'd probably have to turn it over to a property manager. And, as I did more research and I was listening to bigger pockets, Joe Fairless happened to be on one of those broadcasts. And that made a lot of sense to me when I heard him and learned more about syndication deals. After I heard Joe speak, the DFW market looked really good. So I tried to do some research into that market, and given the number of headquarters that we're locating there, seemed to make a lot of sense. And we don't really know a lot of people in the DFW area, so I really wanted to find an organization that already had the connections, understood the market, and had the relationships to find some of those off-market deals that would not only hopefully enhance my returns, but also minimize my risk because buying at the right levels. Anytime you're shipping off a big chunk of money, you're always concerned. And especially, the whole Barry Madoff scam and other things that you see when you watch American Greed or whatever on CNBC. So I looked at their track record, and I've been in the investments now for, almost 4 years. And so because of the consistency in the returns, and in fact, one of the best things that that made me most comfortable with Ashcroft was in one of the communications, Joe outlined the fact that in one of the apartment complexes, they had a problem with one of the managers on site. And they had to terminate that individual and replace them. And he shared all the good stuff, but he also shared the things that weren't going so well, but and then what they were doing to resolve it. And of course, as well, when the communications came out regarding COVID, there was a lot of communication as to what things that Ashcroft was doing proactively in order to try to overcome the situation and get out in front of it. And to me, that's what really helped build my trust over time. And like I say, here we are 4 years later, and it's been awesome. We've had a great experience with Ashcroft. I really like the consistent communications that we get. We get the booklet as well as the emails. And like I said, we've had the North Arlington portfolio that's already sold, and we made a nice return on that. With the initial exception of when we had some of the delays in the preferred returns during COVID, they've more than made up for those returns, which has been awesome. So that part has been really, really positive. And, I also appreciate that in the investment newsletter that we get on a weekly basis or a monthly basis, that we're really able to keep up with what's going on in the apartment market, primarily in the DFW area. I worked my whole life and put into the 401k plan, which is primarily made up of stocks and bonds. So the great thing about being able to invest with Ashcroft is the ability to diversify into real estate without having to be in real estate. So all the reasons I mentioned before as to why I didn't want to own an apartment complex myself, Ashcroft is able to kind of take those things off the table for me. The second thing I'd say is I've had really consistent returns, and I can count on that mailbox money coming in every month. And so that's a great thing to give us the flexibility to do the things that we want to do to have a better life and that help serve our community. And then lastly, I would say the communications. Having the monthly email report, the little magazine that comes out as well that talks about, other investors similar to myself, or maybe they have different circumstances that I could pick up from. But I would say the ability to diversify, the consistent returns, and the communications were really why I would tell people to invest with Ashcroft. From the 3 deals we've done, North Arlington closed. It closed with a 1.325 multiplier, which is awesome. Plus, I had the 8% preferred return over that period of time. So in that roughly 3-year time frame, I got an average of an 18% annualized return. And so far, we've had consistent 8% returns on the other 2 investments we've had. So great results so far. I'd love it if all my investments were doing that well. I enjoy hearing from others like myself. And I'm thinking that, maybe my wife and my situation may appeal to somebody else that's in our similar situation or about to enter into that situation. So that was primarily why I wanted to do that, was just to say, hey, there's other options out there besides just the stock and bond market where you can get good returns and help to diversify your portfolio. After I made my first 3 investments, all of them were in apartment complexes in the DFW area. And, because it's one market and there's external factors that could potentially impact it, there's a lot of hurricanes in Texas. There could be other things changing, the tax laws in Texas themselves. So there's other things that could happen. So I didn't put any more money with Ashcroft initially. But now that you've come out with a portfolio of apartments in different states and in different locations, that's one of the things I think that's important and makes me feel better about wanting to reinvest when I get some available funds back with Ashcroft in the future. As I continue to follow Ashcroft's story, I like the strategy that's unfolding. I like the fact that it appears as though now you have the critical mass in order to have your own construction and property management firm. And, having a sole focus on driving out waste and efficiencies, being in the automation industry for my whole career, that's a big deal to me. And I think that also can help making sure that we drive out as much risk by doing that as well. So I'm really pleased to see that development, and hope that you continue to make great strides in order to make sure that my investment stays solid.